on Friday, we had this witness on cross-examination. It's still under oath. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ranger.
Good morning.
I'm not going to go over the last week's testimony. The jury can remember that, but just to kind of bring us up to speed since there's been a break, we had talked about before we cut off last week that Officer Randy Hill was dispatched to the incident, correct?
Correct.
And we talked about the time, and that he was on the corner of Carrizo's at 11:33:16. Remember us talking about that, him being on that corner?
Approximately, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And then also we had talked about Coronado, Sergeant Coronado, Mendoza, and Saucedo at the corner before the shooter enters the building. We had discussed that, correct?
Which corner in particular?
The corner of Geraldine and Groves.
Correct.
And we discussed line of sight, that they had line of sight, possibility of line of sight from that corner.
Possibly correct, yes.
We talked that they did not take action to stop the shooter. We talked about that from the corner, those three officers.
I won't comment on the not taking action part. I know that they didn't take a shot from that location and then relocate it.
Yeah, well, they didn't take a shot from that location, correct?
Correct.
They didn't run to the west door, correct?
Correct.
They didn't, that's what I mean by take action. They didn't take action to stop the shooter. As a matter of fact, they relocated, correct?
They did relocate,
Okay.
yes.
Now that we're kind of caught up, now they stay at that corner. After the shooter makes it into the building, into the school, they each, and there's a little bit difference in their timing, they stay on that corner after the shooter makes it into the building for over 30 seconds, correct?
I don't recall the exact time frame, but it would approximately be.
And if you need a reference, all this information is from your critical timeline, okay?
Okay.
So I believe Sergeant Coronado departs the corner at 11:33:28. Correct.
Approximately, yes.
And Officer Saucedo departs the corner at 11:33:33.
Correct.
And then Officer Mendoza departs the corner at 11:33:37.
Correct.
And as we can see, that is over 30 seconds after the shooter makes it into the building. He makes it into the school at 11:32:58, correct?
Correct.
One other thing they didn't do is they didn't transmit information. Is that a fair statement?
From that intersection?
Yes, sir.
Correct. There was
Yeah.
no documented transmissions.
And that would have been helpful. Would you agree with that?
It could have been, yes.
I mean, they could have said, hey, we think we're taking fire, shots fired, suspect in the building, anything of that nature to let other officers know the gravity and the severity of the circumstance. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
So now, I want to bring your attention back to Officer Hill. Would you agree, based off your investigation and other Rangers' investigations, that there's no explanation why he stopped at that corner?
He was coming from that location.
Yes, sir.
He was traveling westbound on Geraldine, approaching Old Carrizo. And by that time, there had been some radio traffic of some activity with a firearm at that location. I don't know why he chose to stop at that location. I can't speak to what he was thinking.
Yes, sir. And so I guess he would be the best person to explain that, correct?
Correct.
So based off your investigation, tactically, knowing what had been transmitted, as you just testified, there's no reasonable explanation why he would stop at a perimeter, at a corner, when there's knowledge that there's someone with a gun on a school ground.
There was an earlier transmission discussing setting up a perimeter. Again, I cannot testify.
But not at that time, though, right, Ranger? You can look at your
I
critical
would have to
timeline.
refer.
Yes, sir, please.
11:31:45. There is radio traffic that says, yes, go ahead and set up a perimeter as soon as you get there.
11:31:45. It says SR fired one shot in the west parking lot.
There is a radio transmission recording.
Is it on your critical? We were talking about your critical timeline, right?
So this timeline again was generated in September of 2024. There are all the audio recordings that were collected and turned over, and there was an audio recording in there that
Where are you
that.
looking at to get that information? If I asked you to look at your critical timeline,
There is a critical. I have a version of I have the radio traffic here.
Is that in your critical timeline?
This is not.
Okay, but in your critical timeline, now that information, did you turn that over to the government at some point?
Yes.
This is the radio traffic we turned over 2 years ago.
That wasn't my question, Judge.
Okay, let me just say this. Tired of the table talk. Objections are made to the court, not to opposing counsel. One warning, no more table talk, no more arguing back and forth. If you got an objection, make it to me. Don't look at the other side, opposing counsel. All right, overruled, let's proceed.
Okay, sir. So on your critical timeline, it's not in there. That's when we were referring.
Correct.
Okay.
In that version.
There's another version of this.
There's not another version, but what was originally turned over, there was an additional analysis conducted afterwards just of the video and the audio that had been turned over.
And in your information, in your version, then, is there direction to Officer Hill to set up a perimeter? There's not.
There's no direction specifically to him.
And that's what I mean. So that was my original question. There's no explanation why Officer Randy Hill, would have stopped at that corner knowing that there's shots fired at a school. That's all I asked, right?
Well, the way that particular radio transmission occurred, it appeared generic. It appeared as a broadcast where somebody was unknown. Somebody was making a radio transmission to set up a perimeter.
Okay, so it sounds like you're giving an explanation. So then Adrian also could have set up a perimeter as well.
Possibly, yes.
So if he's setting up a perimeter outside the school, and not that he was standing like Officer Hill, but if he was standing and setting up a perimeter, that would be reasonable according to what you're testifying to this jury.
There was radio traffic that somebody had said set up a perimeter.
So my question was about Adrian Gonzales specifically. So since you're saying that it's reasonable for Randy Hill to set up a perimeter, it would be reasonable for Adrian Gonzales to set up a perimeter also, correct?
If he had heard that transmission at that time.
And so the government asked you specifically, they compared Officer Saucedo to Adrian Gonzales' behavior. Do you remember that on their direct examination?
Vaguely.
Okay. Well, both Officer Saucedo and Adrian arrived at the scene before the shooter enters the building at 11:32:58, correct?
Correct.
Officer Saucedo has line of sight. Adrian Gonzales does not have a line of sight, correct?
I can't speak to what type of sight Juan Saucedo had, so I don't know that it was actually line of sight.
Well, he had the type of sight that he asked to shoot, right?
Objection repetitive, Your Honor.
Judge, they specifically asked about Saucedo versus Gonzales. I'm just going over what they asked him, Judge.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection, but we got timelines here. Proceed.
So he had line of sight to ask to shoot somebody, correct?
He had some sight, assuming that he did, in order to be able to ask.
And
for
specifically,
permission
he
to
said,
shoot.
"I think I see him," correct?
I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Okay. But Adrian did not have line of sight, correct?
At that point, no.
At any point, he never saw the shooter. You're not telling this jury that he saw the shooter, are you?
No, I'm
Okay.
not. No, I don't know what he saw prior to the shooter walking along the west wall.
This is all based off your investigation, okay? I'm asking you based off your investigation. Officer Saucedo had a superior weapon system, correct?
Well, he did as far as he had a rifle.
And that's a superior weapon system, correct?
I'm not going to comment on the superiority of one weapon system over another.
So you don't have an opinion on whether an AR-15 is a superior weapon than a handgun?
A handgun, a person can be as proficient with a handgun as well.
Did you hear my question?
I did.
Okay, do you think an AR-15 is a superior weapon system than a handgun? You can say no.
No, I don't feel that it's superior weapon system.
Fair enough, okay. So, Officer Saucedo had backup, correct?
Yes.
He had two other officers with him.
Yes.
Adrian was by himself.
Yes.
Officer Saucedo knew the shooter made it into the building, correct? At some point.
I don't know when he would have known that.
Well, because Sergeant Coronado knew that, right?
The first indication that Sergeant Coronado thought that the shooter made it into the building was after Sergeant Coronado began relocating to the northeast intersection.
Do you remember interviewing Claudia Perez?
Yes.
Did you review her interview before you come here to testify?
Yes.
Did you remember hearing the interview you had with her? You interviewed her yourself, correct?
I did, yes.
Do you remember asking her and her talking about her talking to the officers on the corner, and she said, "We told them he's in the building," and you asked her specifically, did they indicate that they heard you, and she said yes? Do you remember that part of the interview?
I would have to look back at my report.
So please look at your report. When did you review that interview before you testified this morning?
I reviewed Claudia Perez's interview prior to completing my supplemental report.
When was that timeline?
That would have been within 3 months after the event.
Okay, so you haven't listened to her interview for 3 years?
Correct.
But remember, I asked you, did you review her interview before you're testifying this morning, like over the weekend? You
No,
did not?
I had reviewed it previously, but not today.
Okay, please look at your notes.
Okay, could you repeat your question, please?
During your interview, she stated to you that they were telling the officers that the shooter had made it into the building, and you asked, did they understand you, or did they confirm that they heard you, and she said yes.
So for this particular statement, she was talking about the officers that had already arrived and were at the west door.
No, but she wasn't talking to them. She was in her corner, right? She wasn't at the school. You agree with that?
I don't recall where she was.
You were asking her, you were interviewing her and trying to get key information. Do you agree with that?
I do, yes.
Do you remember her saying that she told the officers that shooter made it into the building? Do you remember that? And you asked her if they understood her, and she said yes?
May I read from my report?
To refresh your memory, it's not in evidence. We can play the statement if we need to, but go ahead. Read it to yourself, please.
So, Claudia Perez had stated that she saw at least 10 officers positioned at the west entrance. At this time, the west entrance was going to be the west door entrance to the 4th grade building. Perez and another Hillcrest employee, Gilbert Rodriguez, ran to the front parking lot of Hillcrest and yelled to the police officers that the suspect was inside the Robb Elementary School.
And at the parking lot, at the edge of the parking lot, were Coronado, Mendoza, and Salcedo, correct?
This was a different time. This was.
But it doesn't say that in your interview, right?
But this.
Hold on. But in your interview, because I listened to it over the weekend. I know you didn't. I did. And there's no timelines when you're asking her these questions, right?
At the time, I didn't know any timelines. I was merely trying to document what she had observed.
But that's what I'm saying. You didn't ask her key questions. She's talking about talking to officers at the edge of the corner of the parking lot, and the parking lot is away from the school, correct?
These are going to be officers that arrived after.
But you don't ask her that in your interview. You don't ask her that in your interview.
But she did say specifically that there were 10 officers.
I know, eventually.
Around the west entrance.
And Salcedo.
And that's what I recall.
And Salcedo, Mendoza, and Coronado were facing the west entrance, correct?
When they arrived, yes, but they
Okay,
were not at the west entrance.
You're not telling this jury that Miss Perez walked up to the west door of that school, are you?
No, but she could see it.
I know she could see it from the corner, from the funeral home. Where does she work, by the way?
The Hillcrest Memorial Funeral Home.
And where is Hillcrest Memorial Funeral Home in relation to the school?
It is across the Geraldine Street from the Robb Elementary School.
And where was Sergeant Coronado, Officer Mendoza, and Officer Salcedo? Where did they set up perimeter and stop their vehicles?
They initially stopped at the intersection of Geraldine and South Grove Street.
And where is the intersection of Geraldine and South Grove? What establishment is that in front of?
It is in front of the Hillcrest Memorial Funeral Home.
When in you reviewing your investigation, you realized that in Sergeant Coronado's interview, he acknowledges that a woman is screaming at him, correct?
I don't recall the specifics of Coronado's interview.
Did you review his interview before you put this critical timeline together?
No, not for the critical timeline.
Are you aware now that during his interview he acknowledges a woman is screaming at him?
If you're saying that,
It's in his interview. Yes, sir. I am. You're not aware of that?
I don't recall it.
Okay. So since we're comparing Saucedo and Adrian still, Officer Saucedo departs after 35 seconds after the shooter enters the building, correct?
Approximately.
He drives away.
He relocates to another area.
And how did he relocate?
He drove.
Away, right? He drove away
He drove to another location.
by driving away.
He drove to another location.
So, but Adrian didn't drive away, did he?
No.
He stayed in the eye of the storm, correct?
He stayed at the location where he had stopped or somewhere close to that location.
And eventually Adrian makes it into the building, correct?
Yes.
Does Officer Saucedo make it into the building?
I don't recall if he entered the building.
He does not make it into the building, but you didn't review that?
At some point, I reviewed that information,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't recall the specifics.
Sir, did you know that I was going to ask you these critical questions in front of this jury? Did you were in the middle of cross-examination. You didn't review any of this information before you're coming here to testify?
I reviewed the information associated with the roles that I performed.
But you're testifying to a full investigation. You summarized an investigation in your critical timeline. You didn't do each part of this timeline. You reviewed things for it. I'm asking, did you review this critical information before you're coming to this jury to testify? You know I was going to ask you questions about this stuff.
My role was not to review every piece of information for the investigation.
So then this is not accurate. Your critical timeline is not accurate. You're telling this jury that?
It is accurate.
So you had to review information to make it accurate, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if Saucedo would have pursued the shooter, you agree it would have made a difference in this incident?
I can't make that statement.
If he entered the west door, he could have cut the pie and followed and pursued the shooter, correct?
Again, it's possible.
Right. And if he would have entered that west door and cut the pie, and they've heard plenty about cutting the pie, the shooter actually would have been in a fatal funnel, and Saucedo, Mendoza, and Coronado would have been in a superior position to the shooter. You agree with that?
It's possible.
I'm just saying, in my scenario, if the shooter is in a hallway, you agree a hallway is a fatal funnel, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if the shooter's in a hallway, and if Saucedo, Coronado, and Mendoza would have hot pursuit, the shooter, they would have been in the school, and they could have cut the pie, and then the shooter would have been in a disadvantaged position. You would agree with that, right?
If they were at that moment in the school, at the T intersection, yes, it is possible.
But they didn't do that. But they didn't do that. Sir?
About your time,
About my time for what, Judge? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
we set some timelines on Friday, last thing we did before we left.
Okay, I'll wrap it up then, Judge. I have to put on the record. We'll have to put on the record, judges, that I'm asking him questions. I've moved on to new information based off what they asked him, and under the Constitution, right to confront the witness, Judge. I really literally have probably 7 minutes left, but it depends on his answers.
Okay, we set some timelines on Friday. I gave you a 3-day weekend to kind of figure out what you wanted to ask. I did the same thing with them. 7 minutes, wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
And
Give me
Rain,
timer, please.
do me a favor, try to answer specifically and quickly the questions he asked you. If you can do it yes or no, do it yes or no. If you can't, then do it as concisely as possible.
Thank you, Judge.
Let's proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. He has a timer on me. So you agree that Saucedo, since we asked you about Saucedo, they compared Saucedo specifically, but this applies to all of them, did not engage, distract, or delay the shooter, correct?
Correct.
Now, backdrop, they asked you about backdrop. Anytime you're dealing with any incident involving a school, a theater, or a gymnasium, you're always going to have challenges with backdrop, correct?
Correct.
And just for the record, for the jury knows, backdrop is what's behind your target when you're shooting at something, correct?
Yes.
Because the 4 gun safety rules are, number 1, always treat a gun like it's loaded, correct?
Yes.
Never point it at anything you're not prepared to kill or destroy.
Yes.
Always keep your finger high and outside the trigger guard until you're ready to shoot.
Yes.
And then know what's behind your target.
Yes.
And so the 4th rule, knowing behind your target, that's the backdrop. That's what we call backdrop, correct?
Correct.
So anytime you're dealing with a school incident, a theater situation, or a gymnasium, or a church, you're always going to have backdrop issues, correct?
Possibly, yes.
And so you're tactically never going to be in a perfect scenario when you're dealing with those circumstances. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Now there was 46 seconds before the shooter crashes. There is a SUV that opens that gate. Did you see that in the funeral video?
46 seconds prior to.
Yeah.
I do recall some activity, but I don't recall the specifics.
Well, I guess my question is, based off anyone's investigation, yours, Ranger Hill, or anybody else's investigation, do you know, did anybody verify who that person was?
I don't recall the specifics about that.
But you agree that that person unlocked the gate and opened it 46 seconds before the shooter crashed?
I do recall there being some activity there.
And other Rangers testified to the fact that we want to make sure that there was no co-conspirators or no one helping the shooter, right?
Yes.
Did anybody verify that that person, who it was? Was it a teacher? Was it someone helping? Because that gate is open and it should have been locked, correct?
It was generally, that would be locked. From what I recall, there was a delivery of some sort to the school, but I don't recall the specifics.
Do you remember that delivery was to Amy Morin on that corner, that black truck? That was that delivery. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is something different. And I don't know who this person is. I'm asking that you or yourself or any of the Rangers verify who this person is.
I did not verify.
And I think it's safe to say that the shooter did not plan to crash, right?
I don't know what the shooter was thinking at the time.
But if the shooter didn't crash, then that gate being open would have made it much easier for them to drive all the way to the front and then to commit the heinous crime that they did, correct?
If the gate was open,
Yes, sir.
it would provide another access point. Yes.
Right. But no, but you're saying that you don't have knowledge of anybody verifying who this person is.
I know that I didn't.
When it comes to containment, I'm 3 minutes in. When it comes to containment, you would agree those first 5 officers that entered the school, they contained the shooter to 112 and 111.
Yes.
Because if they were not there, it could be possible that the shooter could have gone to other classrooms and did the same thing.
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, do you have your last name is Hill?
Yes.
And Officer Randy Hill is spelled the same way. Any relation to Randy Hill?
No.
Thank you, Ranger. Pass the witness, Judge.
State, redirect.
Thank you. Ranger, would you explain to the jury what your part of this investigation centered around?
As I stated earlier in my testimony, I was reassigned to this investigation in September 2022 to assist with managing the large volume of information, nearly 3.2 terabytes worth of data. The data included 2,352 pieces of physical evidence, 779 audio-video recordings, and 11,745 photographs. I developed a database application specifically for this investigation to help build a foundation of organized information.
And so if I could ask, basically, your part of the investigation was the analysis of body cams,
Correct.
dash cams,
Yes.
videos,
Yes.
dispatch,
Yes.
911.
Yes. As well as photographs and visual observation of the physical evidence.
Okay. Because at the same time, there was an additional work being done as far as asking witnesses questions. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was not what you were to oversee.
Correct.
So your testimony is about videos, audios, dash cams, things that are verified.
Yes. My main objective was to extract all of the possible fact-based information, that information from verifiable evidence sources such as audio-video files, photographic evidence, or observation of physical evidence.
Okay. Now I'd like to talk to you about Officer Hill
Mr. Turner, microphone.
Excuse me. Officer Hill, is that correct? I'm talking to you
Yes.
about Officer Hill.
Randy Hill, yes.
Yes. And we had played the dispatch, that a dispatch for Randy Hill was to Old Carrizo Road,
Yes.
and is that where he stopped?
He was dispatched from to 715 Old Carrizo Road, which would populate as the main entrance to the school, which is adjacent and very, very near the intersection of Old Carrizo and Geraldine.
And is that approximately where Officer Hill stopped?
Yes.
And on the way, he got information to set up a perimeter.
There was radio traffic about a perimeter, yes.
And when he was asked to set up a perimeter, does it make sense to start where
Judge,
he was dispatched?
I'm gonna object to leading, Judge. Can let the witness answer?
Sustained?
Have you set up a perimeter?
Yes.
And is the dispatch that you received important in setting up a perimeter?
Yes.
Is that part of where the perimeter should be?
Yes.
And so the question as to whether or not an officer should stop where they're dispatched and told to set up a perimeter, is that consistent with what Officer Hill did?
Yes.
And let me ask, have you been a patrol officer also?
Yes.
Have you been dispatched places?
Yes.
Could you tell us, when you get dispatched, what is important to you?
The location and the nature of the call, those are the two primary factors. It's important that there not be excessive radio traffic during that time so that the most critical information can be dispatched.
So when you hear that information, you follow that information?
Yes, until I receive visual intelligence myself to course correct or change my approach.
So once you arrive, do you continue to gather information?
Yes.
And as you gather additional information, you said you course correct. Explain that to the jury.
Make adjustments essentially on the fly based on the real-time information that I'm able to collect.
So where does that additional information come from?
It can come from radio transmissions, but more specifically from what I can see, what I can hear, or what I may be able to smell depending on the situation.
And based on your five senses, if there are also witnesses there, does that provide information?
Yes.
And once provided witness information, do you course correct
Yes.
based on what the witnesses saw
Yes.
and advised you?
Yes.
So if you get original dispatch information to set up a perimeter, but you hear shots fired, does that change your course of action?
Yes.
How?
Once the gunshots start occurring, then it becomes an immediate direct to threat situation, and I would attempt to locate the source of the shots, but be moving simultaneously to locate sufficient cover and the location of the shots. Sufficient cover if it's available.
And that's basic active shooter training,
Yes.
to move to the shooter,
Yes.
but tactically with cover.
If it's available.
And if you hear shots fired, but you're not sure where they're coming from, do you listen to witnesses?
Yes.
And if a witness points out where the shots are coming from, do you act on that information?
I would, yes, I would investigate that information and attempt to verify that.
And how would you verify it if you hear shots and the witness is saying they're coming from over there?
I would move to the location where I hear the shots and where the witness said that the possible gunshots or shooter was located.
Moving now to Salceda and Mendoza. What time period did they arrive after Adrian Gonzales was there?
So Adrian Gonzales parked at approximately 11:31:55. Jesus Mendoza arrived at approximately 11:32:23, so approximately 30 seconds.
May I approach you?
And
Yes, sir.
1 second. Go ahead and say the last one.
this was Juan Saucedo arrived shortly after Jesus Mendoza at 11:32:30.
And would you approach up us?
Just for the record, it's 11:32:29. I know the jury can remember, but that's not accurate.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, if the question conflicts with your memory of the evidence, rely on your own memory of whatever you recall. Go ahead and proceed.
You would approach. Have a seat. If you will, again, point to us where casings were found around 102 and 104.
This location right here for room 102. And this location right here for room 104.
And is the parking lot consistent with what Saucedo and Mendoza would have seen?
Yes, these black vehicles represent vehicles that were parked in those parking spots at the time of the event.
And was there a bag full of magazines located on that west wall?
Yes.
Would you point that out? Is that about halfway up from the south end to the north end?
Approximately.
And did it take approximately a minute for the gunman to get from the south end to the north end?
Approximately.
So would it take approximately 30 seconds to get from the south end to halfway to the north end?
At a constant or average pace, yes.
And at that time, halfway, around 30 seconds, who arrived on the scene?
Officer Mendoza, Officer Saucedo, and Sergeant Coronado.
And so at that time, were there any other shots in which defects were in the building?
No.
And a bag was dropped at the point halfway between, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you see the video of the north end provided by the citizen from the north end?
Yes.
Was the gunman running or walking?
He was running.
How many shots were fired during that period of time from where the bag was dropped until the gunman entered?
6.
6 shots with no defects in the building,
Correct.
indicating they went somewhere else.
Correct.
Now, as to Saucedo, Mendoza, and Coronado, when they arrive, a bag is dropped halfway up. Could you tell us what obstructions, if any, they had?
Looking from their perspective, especially depending on their stance, and by observing Sergeant Coronado's dash camera, there's some kneeling, squatting down, attempting to take cover / concealment behind their vehicles.
So one squatted behind the vehicle,
I believe they all did at some point.
okay?
And it would have been, there was a lot of movement here to try to find what I would imagine is the most tactical position. And from that position, the vehicles in the parking lot could present a possible obstruction.
The vehicles in the parking lot, starting about halfway up and going all the way into their entry to the door almost.
Correct.
it was this row or this row.
Correct. And there was a fence here. Specifically here, there was a piping fence that was damaged as a result of the crash.
And was there also a chain link fence?
Yes.
Does that partially obstruct you?
Possibly, yes.
Now, it has been suggested that Officer Sato said he saw a gun. Have you seen any evidence that he said he saw a gun?
I haven't reviewed any evidence that indicates that.
But was there a dispatch of a man in black?
Yes.
And let me ask, from the video of Coronado, does it appear where these officers are looking?
They do appear to be looking in this direction.
Do they? Can you tell where their eyes are scanning?
I cannot. I can only look at where their head is facing.
Okay. And are they also looking over this vehicle, Officer Saucedo's vehicle?
Yeah, yes. There was movement around these vehicles, and at one point, Officer Mendoza and Sergeant Coronado were on the driver's side of Officer Mendoza's vehicle, and Officer Saucedo was at the rear driver's side of his vehicle.
Okay. And so if Saucedo said he saw a man and he saw a description of the gunman south and west of the building, what is south and west of the building?
The southwestern portion of the building would be this location, right here.
It would not be up here in the north and west.
That's not the southwest part of the building, that particular area.
And what color uniform did Adrian Gonzales wear that day?
There's a dark blue shirt and pants.
Dark blue,
Yes.
almost black.
Yes.
And he had permission to fire.
Which were you referring to?
Saucedo?
Based on what I've been told in court. Yes.
And for the record, the distance here, I believe is testified, is 130 yards.
I checked the measurement during the review process, and using Google Earth, it was approximately 130 yards from the center of this intersection to the west wall of the fourth grade building.
And from the vehicle heights, what was the condition of this building, as whether it's bricks or windows?
From this location, taking these vehicles into consideration, the windows were the only easily viewable part of this area. And this was confirmed. We received dash camera video for the vehicle that Juan Saucedo was driving. Now the dash camera video, the recording system had some issue, and so the video was jumping and changing pixel colors. So I went frame by frame through that video and was able to find a frame where there wasn't distortion, and that indicated the view from the dash camera location of Juan Saucedo's patrol vehicle, and it did show these obstructions here. And from what I could see from that still shot, the windows were still visible.
And you testified earlier about once you've been dispatched to a scene, you have to change your course based on the information you receive.
Yes.
And we talked about Ms. Perez saying he's in the building.
Yes.
And how many officers were at the corner?
3.
And Ms. Perez said where? How many people was she talking to when she said he's in the building?
She said that she had seen 10 officers at the west entrance. There were a collection of officers at this location.
And if she's talking to 10 officers at this location, saying he's in the building, it is not at the time these 3 officers are here. Is that correct?
That was not, when I conducted the interview with Claudia Perez, it was not my understanding that she was referring to these officers.
Okay. And in addition to that, any indication these 3 officers talked to Melody Flores?
Not that I'm aware of.
And were pointed to which building at Robb Elementary?
They were pointed in this direction, and
And is that the direction of Robb Elementary?
yes,
How many buildings are in Robb Elementary?
there are several.
So if somebody's telling you he's in the building, how many buildings could that be?
It could be one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So as an officer that arrives at a scene, if you hear evidence that somebody's in a building, but somebody is pointing to a specific building, does that help you in directing you where you should go?
Judge, I've let the leading go on, but I'm not to object to leading again, Judge.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. If you'll rephrase the question, please.
As an officer, would you tell the jury what gives you direction on where to go?
For a situation like this, the gunshots are my visual observation of the shooter. If there was any bystander or witness that is especially emphatic about what they saw, I would take that into consideration as well, and then I would proceed to investigate what I had been told.
Thank you. Were there any obstructions from the southwest corner of the 4th grade wing of Robb Elementary down that line headed north to where the west entrance is?
Not until the electrical box, which would have been closer to the west door entrance.
And you reviewed the dispatches of Adrian Gonzales during this minute time, or the 3 or 4 minute time, is that correct?
Yes.
And we've had, on here we have a dispatch that has been agreed upon, I believe, that shots fired from Adrian Gonzales, correct?
Correct.
You listened to that?
Yes.
And do you have any objection to that being Adrian Gonzales' voice?
No.
And approximately 3 minutes later, did Adrian Gonzales ask for cover?
Approximately.
And about a minute or about 50 seconds after, or 45 seconds after Adrian Gonzales said shots fired, did Adrian Gonzales again get on dispatch?
I'm sorry, what time are you referring to?
11:32:59, I believe, has been agreed upon.
Yes.
And was the substance of that dispatch, he's wearing black, he's over by the teacher's parking lot?
The 3259 was going to be on the west side, or I'm sorry, going to be on the west school, on the west side of the school by those vehicles. The 11:33:09 approximately. He said supposed to be wearing all black, all black.
And then when Sauceda and Mendoza arrived at Coronado, was there also a dispatch from Adrian Gonzales?
a short time, a few seconds after Coronado, Mendoza, and Salcedo arrived at the intersection. Mr. Gonzales did say on the radio, "Take cover, guys. Take cover. Shots fired."
Take cover, guys, shots fired. And what time was that?
11:32:44.
About 10 or 12 seconds after they arrived.
Approximately.
Just for the record, fourth graders are not infants, is that correct?
Correct.
Would not be taken to an infant care provider.
Correct.
Pass the witness.
Judge, I understand your ruling. He's just testified to two pieces of information that are not in his critical timeline.
Scope of the redirect only. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge.
Now, you testified that asking for cover, that Adrian Gonzales asked for cover, correct? Just answer that question first so we can save time.
He does have radio traffic.
Hold on. Answer my question, please. That you testified that Adrian Gonzales asked for cover, correct?
Yes, at one point, yes.
Where is that in your critical timeline?
It's on the audio traffic that was
That wasn't my question. And I'm trying to speed this up because you know the judge wants us to move. So I'm not being disrespectful. Where is that in your critical timeline? Where is that in your critical timeline? Answer the question.
It's not on that.
It's not in your critical timeline, correct?
It's not in the one turned over to the DA.
So there's a separate critical timeline that you're saying that the DA has, the government has, that we don't have, because it's not on mine, right?
There was additional information. We continued analysis after the
Can you
report
please
was
listen?
turned over.
Sir, I'm sorry. Listen to my questions. I know you want to say a lot. Listen to my question. There's a different critical timeline that you've turned over to the government that we don't have. That's what you're saying.
I don't know if you don't
Well,
have
this
it.
one, you want to look at mine? Mine doesn't have that. So you're saying yours does, and they have that, correct?
I turned it over. I don't know
Did you talk
what
to the
you
government
have.
this weekend?
Not very much.
That wasn't my question. Did you talk to the government this weekend?
I did, yes.
How many times?
Once.
So Adrian asking for cover is not in the critical timeline that we have. You also testified that 11:32:44, you said that Adrian says, "Take cover, guys, take cover, shots fired." Do you remember testifying just moments ago to this jury?
Yes.
11:32:44, right?
Yes.
Where is that in your critical timeline?
That was analytical information learned later and turned over to
So is it in your critical
prosecution.
timeline?
If it's not in the version that you have,
May I approach? Well, I can't approach, Judge.
Yes.
Which one are you looking at, sir? I don't know what that is. Is that your critical? That's not a critical timeline. What is that?
this is what was turned over to the prosecution.
So you've turned that over to the prosecution?
Yes.
May I see this, please? Do you mind if I look at that? Thank you, sir. Have you seen this? So, if I represent to you that none of us have seen that, but we've seen this.
Objection, Your Honor. They've been provided the dispatch.
No, Judge, we have not.
They're misleading the jury.
No, I'm not, Judge. How dare you say that, Judge?
Excuse me, wait a minute. What did I just tell you?
I'm sorry, Judge.
What did I just say?
I'm sorry. my
Objections to the bench.
apologies. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. My
All
apologies.
right, overruled. Let's go.
So this is what we have. It's not in here. You agree?
That's, this was created, this is going to be the radio file. Remember I said that there's an approximate 2-second variance?
Okay, so there's an approximate 2 seconds. So we don't have but you're testifying specifically to this jury, and I have to figure out an approximate 2-second variance?
You do have the radio traffic.
No, I don't. Does it say 11:32?
Yeah, I'm going to object to that, but will you approach the bench, Your Honor?
Okay.
Timeline, correct. Just answer the question. It's not there. 11:32:44. Just answer. Say no. It's not there.
It does not say 11:32.
That's all I was asking. We have to move along. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just trying to move along. And so 11:32:44. It's nowhere in your critical timeline that Adrian Gonzales says shots fired, take cover, guys. Correct? It's not in your critical timeline.
Apparently in the version you're looking at, it's not in that timeline.
Apparently. And it's apparently not in this other version of the dispatch, correct? So it's just something separate than your critical timeline.
Is that the version you just showed me?
Yes, sir, it is.
The radio file and the time is noted on that spreadsheet
11:32:44 is not in here, right?
with the approximate 2-second variance.
And it doesn't say anything. This doesn't show a printout of what exactly the transmission is, right?
It directs you to the audio file, but there is not a transcription on that
And
document.
so with there's numbers that are not accurate to what you're testifying to this jury, and there's no transcription that we can rely on. We have to go to the actual transmission on a different number, right? On a different time. And on the 3246, thank you, Jason. Who does it identify as the sender? Under your, let's use your times. Under 11:32:46, who's the sender?
Unknown.
So I'm supposed to figure out an unknown person that's Adrian Gonzales?
We can play the audio recording.
That wasn't my question. Listen, please. You have this wonderful hearing. Listen. 11:32:46. It says unknown, correct?
When that document was
Listen to
created,
me,
and turned
Ranger.
over-
Listen to me. You're an intelligent man. Does it say unknown?
He's bantering the witness.
No, I'm not, Judge. Does it
All
say
right,
unknown?
hold on. Let me rule. It's the only thing I get to do. Okay, that's overruled.
Does it say unknown?
It does.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, what else we got? Real quickly. Anything else from this witness?
No, sir.
Okay, subject to recall, you decide.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're subject to recall. Stay in touch with the state. Remember, you're under the rule. You know what that means.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you.